Welcome to The Gut Check, Nutrition and Gut Health for Active People, a podcast where we are talking functional nutrition for functional fitness and a functional you. Remember, if your gut is not functioning optimally, you are not functioning optimally. I am your host, registered dietitian and nutritionist, and OCR fan, Kate Klein. You can connect with me on Facebook at The Dublin Dietitian, or go to my website for additional resources, services, and the video recorded versions of these episodes at www.dublindietitian.com. That's DUBLINDIETITIAN. As a standard disclaimer, the information provided here is for educational purposes only. While I strive to provide accurate and helpful information to my listeners and viewers, I cannot take into account individualized circumstances. This is not a substitute for personalized nutrition, health, and medical advice from a health professional. If you are ready to get your personalized plan, you can go to dublindietitian.com and schedule a complimentary strategy session to get a game plan in place for you to hit your health and fitness goals. So let's get to it. Welcome back, Team Gut Check. This is Kate, and this is another one of my research reviews, something I like doing, and I really do enjoy getting to kind of do a deep dive into the actual research of things going on. So this is a topic today. We're going to talk about a specific supplement, because that's also something I want to get into more, is looking at performance supplements, athletic supplements, pre-workouts, BCAAs, how to pick the best whey proteins, how to know which supplements you need, all that kind of stuff. So I'm starting this with a very special one called the Relora Blend. While there's no silver bullet to health, of course, there are things that can give us a big boost with little effort. So today's episode is about that. Now, stress, inflammation, sleep, cravings, weight loss. Imagine one supplement that can help with all of that. One thing you can take to feel less stress, sleep better, boost energy, and turn less often to stress eating so you can stick to your health and fitness goals. Sounds a little bit too good to be true, but there's very compelling research looking at this. Now, we all know that there's a tight relationship between chronic psychological stress and reduced health. We know this. With stress, psychological stress, we've seen this increased susceptibility to a wide range of diseases, including anxiety, depression, and even things like diabetes and obesity are connected to stress. Stress and inflammation are at the root of all health issues. Even the stress of short-term sleep loss has significant implications for long-term health. And we see all sorts of different health effects, from suppressed immune systems, abdominal obesity, insomnia, and just general fatigue. So the initial research that I saw on this product, Relora, goes back to 2006, and it was looking at its effect on helping prevent stress-induced eating and weight gain. Now, it was just a small pilot study of about 28 women, but the results were compelling. And of course, more research is always needed, but a little bit more research has come out in the last 15 years that we'll also get to. So what is this, quote, as close to a silver bullet as we can get item? What is this Relora Blend? So it's a patented blend of floral extracts. And we're going to start with that. We're going to dive into what is it and what are these components. And then I'm going to get into 3 research studies. So if you are on the YouTube version of this, you can see there's a picture of this Relora Plus supplement. But if you're just on the podcast, don't worry, talking through everything here. So Relora is the trademarked name of a special blend of magnolia and philodendron extracts. So these flowers, magnolia and philodendron floral extracts. And separately, each of these flowers and each of these extracts has actually gone way back in like ancient herbal medicine to have benefits. But even within more modern research, we are seeing benefits to these. So magnolia has 2 dominant active compounds, magnolol, and I may be butchering this, honokiol. So the magnolia plants tends to be a significant significantly cancer protective and has shown protective effects on the liver and the brain through fighting inflammation and oxidation. So again, inflammation comes from many, many things. All sorts of things can set your house on fire. And that's sort of what inflammation does to your body. It just ravages it. And then there's oxidation. Think of like internal rusting on your body. So magnolia has been shown to help with fighting inflammation and oxidation. They've also been linked to an antidepressant and anxiety reducing effects, with that mood support being commonly thought of as the primary function. Now, magnolia may also, we've seen in a couple animal studies that it can have sedative effects. I'm sorry, it can have relaxing effects, not sedative. Let me get to that. But it can help reduce anxiety and provide relaxing effects. And they were looking at these animal models, and it looks like it's that honokiol component. They've compared it to diazepam in its ability to reduce anxiety, but without that associated side effects such as sedation. It helps you relax enough to sleep without just knocking you out in that past study. Now, philodendron's main compound seems to be berberine, and that's one that's more commonly known, at least within the functional nutrition world, and it is also a potent anti-inflammatory. So philodendron is also a Chinese herb used historically to treat different forms of inflammation and bone pain. I didn't see quite the same strength of the research here. One study did suggest that it is that anti-inflammatory aspect of the philodendron extract that helps with that pain. Because again, inflammation and pain is, arthritis is an itis. That means inflammation. So osteoarthritis is inflammation within the bone area, and that causes pain. So they believe the philodendron can help alleviate the interleukin 1A, or one of the inflammatory mediators or agents, can help alleviate the damage to the joint. And other studies found some additional benefits due to its antioxidant, antiviral, and antibacterial effects as well. So individually, each of these components has some compelling, promising evidence and science behind it. And then when you combine the two extracts, they seem to work synergistically together in the body. And I, for one, am glad this blend has been studied and made available. It has hands down been a very powerful component of one of my absolute favorite supplements and multivitamins. And I'll kind of share the anecdotal information as we go. But first, let's look at the research studies. So this first study in 2006 looked at healthy but overweight females who were prone to stress eating. So they were either given a placebo, a fake pretend sugar supplement, well, not sugar, but a placebo, or this Relora compound for 6 weeks. They did find that those on the placebo or the fake supplement actually gained weight from stress eating over those 6 weeks, while those on the Relora did not. They also noted that the treatment group tended to have lower levels of cortisol in the evening, whereas the control group tended to have higher levels of cortisol in the evening. Bedtime cortisol levels decreased in the treatment group and increased in the placebo group. Stressful night snacking, anyone? I think a lot of us know how that goes. So theoretically, as cortisol was better controlled, feelings of stress were reduced, which led to less stress eating and therefore less weight gain during the study. Pretty compelling. It's only a small study, but it is a start. The next study is from 2008. Oh, I suppose I should say real quickly, that last study was called The Effect of a Proprietary Magnolia and Philodendron Extract on Weight Management, a pilot double-blind placebo-controlled clinical trial in the Alternative Therapy Health Medicine Journal. So this next one is from the Nutrition Journal, called Effect of Proprietary Magnolia and Philodendron Extract on Stress Levels in Healthy Women. So very similar, a pilot double-blind placebo-controlled clinical trial. Now, this one, they went a little deeper They were looking at stress and perceived stress, a little bit less than the weight. So once again, looking at overweight but otherwise healthy premenopausal females between the ages of 20 to 25, who were again considered, quote, typically those who eat more in response to stressful situations and score above the national mean for women on self-reporting anxiety. Once again, participants were given the Relora or a placebo for 6 weeks. They had their cortisol levels tested from a saliva collection kit periodically throughout the 6 weeks. And when they did collect, they did 3 times a day. So getting that full cortisol curve. What did surprise me in the end of this was the lack of seeing cortisol levels change between the two groups, since it was noted in the 2006, and as we'll get to, also seen fairly strongly in the 2013 study. But in this pilot study, there were no statistical differences in the cortisol levels throughout the day between the control and placebo group and the Relora treatment group. Yet they did have a difference in their perceived levels of stress and anxiety. At the end of the 6 weeks, they noticed that both groups had less anxiety based on the questionnaires they used, which makes me question placebo effect, how powerful the mind is if you think you're going to be less stressed. That's just my own little side thought. But that the drop in what they saw, that the drop in temporary or transitory anxiety scores was almost twice as big a drop for those on the Relora supplement. So again, they both had improvements, but it was definitely larger in those on this Relora supplement, this herbal blend. The placebo group had approximately a 25% improvement in their feelings of stress. They felt 25% less stress in the placebo group. So again, still pretty good just for mindset. But the Relora group had a 44% improvement. So almost half as much stress, according to, they were using something called the Spielberger State Test score for anxiety. So sort of a validated report. The subjects were also asked on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being the lowest possible difference and 5 being the biggest change or difference. Do you feel that taking the supplement helped to reduce your perceived stress or anxiety? And the people in the Relora group gave a 4, a pretty good change, while the placebo average score was a 2, like a small difference. However, when it came to long-standing feelings of anxiety or depression, they used a different questionnaire, a Spielberger trait, not state questionnaire, and there was less of a difference noted in that group. So this pilot study indicates that Relora may offer some relief for premenopausal women experiencing mild transitory or temporary anxiety. And that included, they were looking at feelings of apprehension, tension, nervousness, and worry. But it didn't seem to have quite as much of an impact on long-standing stress, like ongoing situations. And then the final study looking at this blend is from 2013. And this was kind of interesting. These 2 lead investigators, Sean M. Talbot and Julie A. Talbot, at the time looks like they were working for a company called Supplement Watch, which is kind of like the Consumer Report or Examine.com back in the day, where they were trying to help research supplements to help cut through the marketing noise. If you caught the gut check episode on supplements earlier on, you may remember that I call the supplement world like the wild, wild west. There were a lot of reasons to be cautious with supplements. There's a lot of claims that are being made, and it's hard to know if you can trust certain brands and believe in the quality control that they're doing. So yeah, Supplement Watch, I believe, was like an early version of today's Consumer Reports. So this study, effect of Magnolia officinalis and Philodendron amarans, or Relora, on cortisol and psychological mood state in moderately stressed subjects. This was published in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition, which I thought was an interesting place for it. You'll hear why. So they do state in their research, previous studies have shown that the combination of Magnolia and Philodendron to reduce cortisol exposure and the perception of stress anxiety while improving weight loss in subjects with stress-related eating. Competitive athletes are stressed by their intense exercise regimens in addition to their normal activities of daily living, and thus may benefit from a natural therapy intended to modulate baseline perceptions of stress and stress hormone exposure. So this study aimed to look a little bit more in that direction, and included men this time as well. What I did think was interesting, they note later, it was not done with competitive athletes, and there was no workout or training component to this study. It was simply that they did state that a number of the moderately stressed subjects were recreational athletes, recreational runners and cyclers. So sort of a semi look here at the athletic component of it. So they looked at 56 subjects, which 35 men, 21 women, average age of about 28, who screened for moderate stress levels. And then they just did a 4-week treatment protocol. Again, either placebo or with the Relora Blend. They were using a validated psychological assessment called the Profile for Mood States, or POMS, to assess mood. So it looks at tension, depression, anger, fatigue, vigor, or confusion, plus sort of a combined global mood state total as an indication of subjective well-being. So the 4-week study looked to see how Relora would work compared to the placebo on cortisol, those various moods, and overall stress levels. Now, it was a smaller dose, about 2/3 the dose of the others. The others were doing supplements 3 times a day. This group was just doing 250 milligrams twice a day. But in the end, salivary cortisol levels were 18% lower in the treatment group than the placebo group. And they had significantly better mood states reported. They had 11% improvement in stress and that global mood state, 13% less tension, 18% improvement in vigor, 20% less depression, 31% less fatigue, and 42% less anger. So all in all, a good success for something as simple as taking a supplement. Again, I wish they'd actually used, since they started out their background and kind of the opening of their article talking about athletes, I wish they had done some athletic component to this as opposed to just having their runners and cyclists. But they did say that those recreational athletes did comment about feeling more balanced in their workouts with their stress levels, also feeling more balanced. So I couldn't find any follow-up studies on this, but personally, as an N=1 study of myself, I would say anecdotally, it did help me with my athletic training when I was in a high training season where I was hitting 2 to 4 hours per day. And I was in a bit of a transient anxiety state. I'd gone through an overseas move. I was kind of in a divorce at the time. So it was sort of temporary, but also kind of not. It went on there. But I took it as the Thorne Elite multivitamin, which includes some of the Relora Blend in the evening capsules. But all in all, this is a promising supplement on paper. And again, I vouch for the anecdotal evidence as well. I've been a fan of the Thorne brand Elite multivitamin, which includes a dose in the evening capsules, a smaller dose than these studies were done. But it is something I started, again, back in 2017. I was using it. I was taking it because it had extra B vitamins, had some green tea phytosomes, a little extra magnesium in the evening for relaxation. I didn't do any research on the Relora real early on. I was just looking for a little extra energy, little extra nutrients because of that training intensity I was in. But it was about 2 weeks in, I realized that the insomnia I was suffering from, the stress in my life at that time, was fading. I was falling asleep more easily, staying asleep, had more energy during the day. So I started to encourage my clients, like, hey, if you're up for it, it's a good multivitamin on the surface as it is. Let me know how it helps with your stress and your sleep. And they were willing to give it a try, did a month of it. And with very few exceptions, they also noticed feeling so much better on this product. So anecdotally, a lot of rave reviews for a partial dosing, even a low dosing of Relora, especially, that's just one piece of the puzzle, of course, but especially when combined with all the other foundation pieces that help us: sleep, stress management, healthy weight, healing, eat right for your body, set those routine times for sleep, exercise, drink water, and all of that. But consider this little supplement a supplement to help, or a support to help supplement that lifestyle. So if you are interested in learning more or reading about some of these products, there are discount codes for either the straight up Relora supplement or the Thorne Elite multivitamin in the show notes. You can get a 15% discount. But of course, I always have to say, consult with your physician, pharmacist, or a dietitian to personalize before introducing new supplements, because botanicals and herbs can interact with medications, such as those for blood clotting, or maybe if you're already on antidepressants or anti-anxieties, they may not be appropriate for people with certain health conditions or pregnant women. And again, a supplement, even as promising as Relora, is never a replacement for purposeful stress management through balanced exercise, mindset shifts, working on coping strategies, healthy eating. It's just meant to be used strategically to help supplement your full plan. So thanks for listening. Please like, follow, and share this episode if you found it helpful. I plan to do more deep dives into specific supplements for health and athletic performance in the future. So let me know what questions you have and which supplements you are most curious about. Take care, and I will talk to you next week.